Welcome to Innkeep Developer Diary number 4. It's been 2 weeks already and a couple of days. Here we go. Let's load right into it. What's new? First thing you might notice is that there are some shadows here underneath the tables like this. Just a little cool little thing for extra atmosphere here. So it draws the shadows, then it draws the table, then it draws, the steins of the candles, whatever. Another thing, here we go, is that if I move my cursor over things in the world which can be interacted with like this, it'll highlight them, and then it will display some text, If I select a guy as well, like before, you'll notice now actually that there's a softer highlighting here instead of the very hard one I was using before. And I move my cursor over tables like this, I'll get the text as well, send guest to table, which appears down there, and the table will be highlighted. So this is one of the big features that I've added these last couple of weeks, and that is feedback for the player. So the player knows in the game world, in the playable area here, what is going on. What will their actions lead to if they click here? It's fairly obvious because the text is telling you, but also the highlighted area means that you know if you click it's going to happen, where before you just didn't have that information. So I'll click, off he goes. By the way, another big thing is this selection code now has been replaced. It is working really nicely now. So if I were to click here on the table around the guy, nothing. If I click here, there we go. So it's kind of pixel perfect, but it also is much more reliable than the system I was using before, and it can handle people overlapping. So if there are people fighting each other and there's a big scrum or something in the future, it'll be able to always select whatever is on top, which is really cool. It actually works using the draw function, because draw is drawing from bottom to top, and then overriding whatever is the ID stored in a value. But if you're interested in GameMaker, just ask and I can tell you about it. So here's the next thing. Do you see what just happened there? maybe I don't know. If I move back here, you can a bit further. It's a bit more obvious. It's pathfinding. Here we go. So I click. It says get empty stein. I click on the shelf. It's happening very slowly because the recording software is slowing things down 30% or so. But there we go. Now I'll send him off there. So I'll just do that here. Get an empty stein before he leaves, which is, if you don't give them drinks, they end up getting bored and leaving. And here we go. I walk all the way over. So it's a one-click system. This is another big thing. Because I now have pathfinding, which by the way these guys are using as well, not just me. Because I have that installed now, I went back. This was something that was driving me crazy in January. I gave up for a while and I came back to it. I found out what the problem was. Because I always knew that I had to have it in really, but I was still kind of really struggling with what was the issue. It turned out that it was to do with the size of the grid. Pathfinding system here that I'm using is a grid-based pathfinding system. Let me just show you by turning it on here. Here we go. It doesn't take into account the second floor here, and in fact I'm going to end up redesigning this whole background anyway so that it actually matches up properly. You can see that where the line here, the squares are, doesn't match up with the background, so in order to use this properly, I would have to design the background taking into account the size of the individual squares, which are 64 pixels each. Anyway, it works fine for our purposes right now. Basically, the red areas, if I click on these, I can't go to them. They're kind of out of bounds. The guests or my character will pathfind their way around those. The green areas are areas that you can path through. So I still have to clean this up a bit more because it's not 100% in yet. These guys can't really avoid each other very well, and they can't really avoid me very well. But the foundation is in now, which means that we can do stuff like pathfinding for fighting, pathfind for getting a barmaid or someone in here who's running around collecting these cups so that you don't bloody have to do it. Stuff like that is all going to be possible. And it also means you can do stuff like this. So it's getting dark. I'm going to click on this wood here, get piece of wood. Oh, hang on. It's a little bit funny around those corners there. Click on wood. There we go. Now here, click on start fire and fireplace. Click here. There we go. Let's just do that a couple more times. maybe you can hear it. You can start to hear it. It gets louder the more you put in here. Now you can hear it, I think. That's another sound effect that we've got added, which is for the fire. So the stronger the fire, the more sound is going to be generated for that. Alright, fill this stone up here. Click on here, click on him, send him over there. There we go. So the general idea here, and I'm just going to collect this empty stone as well, is that anything the player wants to do in the game space should be done with one click. Maximum two, like sending a guy somewhere. You shouldn't have to maneuver yourself over to an area and then click, which was what you had to do before. So previously, if I wanted to click, I still need to kind of, it's kind of floating in the air there, so I have to adjust some stuff here. But previously, I'd have to maneuver myself up here manually before collecting it, and maneuver myself manually over to this shelf like this to return it like this, right? Which is, if you're doing that like 20 times, 30 times, 40 times per day, in-game day, that's just going to drive you nuts. So what you want is to be able to just click once over here like this. Again, this is moving very slowly because of the recording software. It's not the actual game speed. Click once over here like this and you'll bring it back. And even doing that is still pretty annoying, but that's just the kind of thing you have to do until you can afford to pay someone else to do it for you, which is what will happen eventually. Alright, just grab another one here. Give it to this guy. There we go. So we have extra sound, we have shadows, we have the game kind of giving you some information here of feedback, of highlighting. You have pathfinding, you have proper selection code. So no conversations yet, guys, sorry. I did want to have it in, I really did. I keep thinking that it's going to go in the next 2 weeks, and I keep finding that I need some more foundational code done. But this is pretty much it now. Like, this selection code is really solid. The pathfinding needs a little bit more polishing, but it's pretty good. It's working pretty solid, you know, it's not really causing me any trouble. And I think we are now ready to take this game to the next level, which is, it's exciting. It's finally got to this point now, it's like, okay, I can play in this space properly. It's doing things which I think it should do. And the next point now is to add those kind of game features and functions and stuff like that. So that's pretty exciting. I might make a separate video actually and put it up sometime just talking about the selection system and the masks that it uses, because it's pretty tricky. It took me a week. I mean, really, this last 2 weeks, it took me about 5-6 days just working on selection code. I ended up having a friend pop around who's a coder, and he helped me out with a few bits of logic. And it took me another week nearly just to get this pathfinding working. So it only really started to come together just the last few days, and it's really left me with very little time to add anything in the way of kind of cool visible features. But I still feel like it's been a really successful couple of weeks. The game's really moved forward a lot in terms of the foundational code. It's just not that visibly different yet, unfortunately. Still, that's it. I am hoping really this time that I will move on to table conversations, adding some new guys. When my guy moves left and right like this, I'd like to have the sprite kind of changing and you know, that kind of thing. That'll be coming up, I think, in a couple of weeks. Thanks everybody for your support on Twitter and kind of following me and things. I've passed 50 followers the other day, which is really cool. I hope that we can get it up to 100 or so in the next few weeks, and just slowly kind of expand the number of places that I'm kind of writing about this game or mentioning it, so people can kind of get some idea of what I'm doing and give me some ideas and feedback and things like that. Thanks as well for artists and people like that have been contacting me. If you are an artist, you are watching this, I really do hope to have people who have actual, you know, talent, unlike myself, to work on this. And I do have a few people who I think are interested, but I doubt that I could really just leave this up to just one person. This is too much to do. It's probably something where you'd want to split it up so that someone's doing animation characters and someone's doing background stuff like that. But I'd like to have at least the assets in the game kind of pretty much finalized before I was to make a kind of a working relationship with someone seriously about this, because when it's all in flux, it's not really clear how much there is to do, and that's a big ask to kind of say, hey, you know, help me out with this. I really need you to work right through to the end so that the style is consistent, but I don't know exactly how many characters or how much work it's going to be. Like, that's just a bit that's a bit crazy. So first off, I'll get the assets kind of figured out, and then later on we can talk about that. But thank you guys, it's really cool. I'm definitely excited to get some actual art in this later on. That's about it. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.